Today, I'm going to be predicting every game coming for the 2026 and 2027 NFL season. I'm going to be using Pro Football Network's playoff and season predictor. It's on their website for free. As you can see right here will be all the games that we're predicting, and underneath will be all of the standings as we go, updating during the whole video. I'm going to be going over any big games and any games that I think are worth mentioning. Any things you think I should change or should have brought more light to, let me know. This is being filmed on Monday, June 15th of 2026. So NFL roster changes or anything are not being taken into account after today, obviously. Thank you for watching, and let's get right into this. So obviously a big game is the season opener. I think this is going to be on a Wednesday this year, and it's the Super Bowl rematch between the Patriots and the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks will take this one, even though it'll probably be a pretty close game, low scoring maybe. I don't think it will be as good of a season opener as we had last year, though. Other game we have that's big here is Lamar Jackson going into Indianapolis to fight the returning Daniel Jones, where I think Baltimore will win. Miami travels to Las Vegas to meet the number one overall selection, Fernando Mendoza, in a game that I have him winning. Big divisional matchup here. The Broncos meeting the Chiefs, and maybe Patrick Mahomes will be back by then. And if he is, I'm taking the Chiefs. So as you can see, after week 1, all the standings have updated, and it will continue this way throughout the season. Detroit meets Buffalo in the opener of week 2, and I think this one's going to be Buffalo winning. Vikings at Bears, which both of these games were pretty good last year, but I'll take the Bears in this one. To end off week 2, we got another big game. The Giants going to Los Angeles to meet the Rams, which the Rams won their second straight. There might be a trend with Los Angeles Rams winning a bunch of games in a row. Just keep that in mind. And in week 3, the Rams will meet the Broncos, which the Rams will win again. And a rematch of a great game last year where the Eagles go to the Bears. I think I'm going to have to give this one to the Eagles, though. Now, through 3 weeks, it's obvious we have some really surprising 0-3 teams like the Steelers, the Colts, the Commanders. The thing is that it's the very beginning of the season, and these things do change quick. Like, for example, the Patriots losing to the Raiders last season. That was week 1, and then the Patriots went to make the Super Bowl. None of this really matters right now until we get deeper into the season. And here in week 4, I have Cincinnati moving to 4-0 against the Jaguars. We got a really good 3-0 versus 3-0 matchup last year, which I think is what ended up happening last year too with the Rams and the Eagles. But I'm going to have the Rams move on as the undefeated. Here in the Texas Bowl, I have the Texans beating the Cowboys. Seattle falls just short of the Chargers in Seattle. Now we're into week 5 finally, and now we'll have some bye weeks coming in, which we have this week, the Panthers and the Chiefs. Cincinnati stretches to 5-0 against the Dolphins, who are struggling. And in our very first toilet bowl, we have the Cleveland Browns against the New York Jets, which I have the Jets taking this one. The Commanders will pick up their first win here against the Giants. And in a rivalry, everyone loves to see the Bears go to Green Bay to meet the Packers, and the Packers will take this one. Seahawks beat the 49ers at home, and the Rams stretch to 5-0, beating the Bills at home. Jaguars beat the Texans and make the AFC South a total toss-up. Bears push back into the positive, beating the Falcons. As do the Colts, push to 3-3, beating the Tennessee Titans. Carolina Panthers pull off the upset and beat the Philadelphia Eagles at home. Rams go on to be 6-0, beating the 0-6 Cardinals. And Justin Herbert and the Chargers give Patrick Mahomes their first loss of the season. And the Cowboys pull off the upset against the Packers at home. This week's byes were the Bengals, Lions, Dolphins, and Vikings. In the 85 Super Bowl rematch, the Patriots meet the Bears at Soldier Field, and the Bears will take this one. And here we got a second toilet bowl. We got the Cleveland Browns and the Tennessee Titans, and I'm going to give this one to the Tennessee Titans. We got a 2-1 this week. We got the Dolphins meeting the Jets as well. I'll give this one to the Dolphins. The 5-0 Bengals are back, and they're going to Baltimore to meet the 5-1 Ravens, and the Ravens will take this one, handing the Bengals their first loss. The Broncos win on the road and make the Cardinals 0-7. Packers will beat the Lions at home to put the Lions at 4-2. And the Rams will push to 7-0, beating Fernando Mendoza. Seattle hands the Chiefs their second straight loss, and the Eagles win at home against the Cowboys. The Week 7 byes are the Bills, Jags, Chargers, and Commanders. Carolina pulls off the upset against the Packers for the second straight year, and Josh Allen hands Lamar Jackson his second loss. The Cardinals finally win a game, pulling off the upset against the Cowboys at home. The Vikings always seem to be the Lions' kryptonite, and I'm going to hand them the win here. Another stinker. We got the Raiders and the Jets, and I'm going to give this one to the Raiders. Los Angeles Bowl, we got the Chargers and the Rams will win their 8th in a row. Second time we've seen this matchup here, the Chiefs and the Broncos. The first time I gave it to the Chiefs, this time I'm going to give it to the Chiefs again. Bears at Seahawks. I'm going to give this one to the Bears. Teams with byes this week are the Texans, the Saints, the Giants, and the 49ers. The Giants get a big win against the Eagles here, and the Rams move to 9-0 against the Commanders. Week 9's bye weeks are the Steelers and the Titans. Commanders finally get their second win here against the Giants. Falcons finally get a win after multiple losses against the Chiefs. New Orleans splits the tie and beats the Carolina Panthers to go into first right now. And the Rams go to 10-0, beating the Cardinals. The Bengals cement their spot at first in the North, beating the Steelers. But right behind them are the Fighting Ravens. And this week's byes are the Bears, Broncos, Eagles, and Bucks. Now through 10 weeks, we have some really bad teams. We got the Dolphins, the Jets, the Browns, Titans, the Raiders, the Commanders, the Bucks, and the Cardinals. The only really surprising teams here are the Commanders and the Bucks. The Pennsylvania Bowl goes to the Eagles, beating the Steelers. 6 bye-week teams this week. We have the Falcons, Browns, Packers, Rams, Patriots, and Seahawks. Packers. Ugh. To start off week 12, we have the Packers meeting the Rams, and here we are. We're going to give the Rams their first loss to the Packers. If anyone's going to do it, it's going to be them stinky old cheeseheads. But the Rams are firmly at the top of the NFC. Bears at Lions. This one's going to go to the Lions at home. Josh Allen always beats Patrick Mahomes in the regular season, so I'll stick with that here. Really tough one to call here. The Jets at the Dolphins. I think I'm just going to have to give this one to the Dolphins here. Washington wins their 3rd in a row to slightly push back into the NFC East spot, though it's a little bit too late here now. The Rams pick up right where they left off before the Packers game and pull off their 11th win against the Chiefs. Jaguars at Bears. This is going to be a great game for sure, but I'm going to have the Bears win this one. Washington with their 4th in a row. I have the Patriots beating the Bills here in week 13. Minnesota picking up a big win to open up week 14 here against the Patriots. I did forget to mention the week 13 byes, the Ravens, Colts, Raiders, and Jets. Commanders with the 5th win in a row against the struggling offensively Texans. New Orleans also breaks the tie for first in the South, beating the Panthers. Mahomes handles Burrow here, and which is always a great game. And the Rams push to 12-1 against the 49ers. Week 14's byes are the Cardinals and the Cowboys. Now in week 15, we can firmly eliminate some teams from playoff contention here. More than likely, the Dolphins, Jets, Browns, Titans, Raiders, and Cardinals. Bears at Bills, and I'll sadly hand this one to the Bills. Green Bay drops a big one to Jeff Hafley and the Dolphins. The Commanders with their 6th in a row. They're right behind the Giants, only 1 game behind, though that does push the Falcons down below the Saints, who are leading the division. Carolina wins a much-needed game against the Bengals here. We got a big-time stinker fest here. The Jets at the Cardinals, and I'll hand this one to the Cardinals. The Rams practically sink the Cowboys' entire playoff hopes here, going on to 13-1. And the Vikings sweep the Lions here. Seems to happen more times than not. The Texans sure help out the Giants here, beating the Eagles. And in what has to be a big-time game this late into the season, the Packers versus the Bears at home. And I'm going to take the Bears here. Rams lose for the 2nd time, losing to the Seahawks, pushing them down to 13-2. Oh no. And the Commanders totally push the Vikings out of the playoffs here, putting them down to 7-8. But the Commanders, with their 7th straight, still fighting for that last playoff spot in the East. Panthers are also pushing back into the South with a big win against the Steelers. Saints push a game ahead, beating the Cardinals. The Titans, with their third win of the season, beating Fernando Mendoza. The Chiefs silently drown all hopes out of the 49ers, needing a total miracle to push back in. Jags push just one game behind the Texans here for the South title, and the Lions make it a dogfight between all of the three remaining teams in the NFC East. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in a last gasp have to beat the Bengals here, which I have them winning. The Chiefs push the Chargers out of the playoff picture for now, and the Rams totally kill the Buccaneers here, moving to 14-2. Jacksonville slowly pushes the Commanders out of the playoffs, and their hopes are nearly over here. But the Jags barely behind the Texans here for the South title. And the Saints beat the Falcons here to almost secure their fourth seed in the playoffs. The Jets win their second against the Vikings, who have practically given up at this point. Carolina wins a big-time game against the Seahawks, though. And Fernando Mendoza steals his third win against the Cardinals. Bears win against the Lions at home. And out of nowhere, the 49ers come back and beat the Eagles and push their way into the playoff spot for the first time, I believe, all season. And the Packers win against the Texans to close out week 17. Now in week 18, we have a lot of playoff implications for who will win their division and who can slide into the wild card spots. A three-way tie for first in the AFC South. Could the Commanders do the impossible and win their game and beat the tiebreaker against the Eagles and Giants? Who will win the North? The Bears, the Packers? Will the Lions be able to get their wild card spot back from the 49ers? And in a very mediocre, as always, NFC South, who will be able to bring that title home? Not to mention the first place in the AFC is still up for grabs. Seems like the only chance, though, for the Commanders here is a tie. But I believe the Giants take this one and win their division and cement themselves at the top of the NFC East. The Bills will rest all their players and let the Jets have their third win of the season here. The Ravens push for their 11th win, hoping that the Bengals can lose and maybe they could grab that number 3 spot. But the Bengals do win, beating the very bad Cleveland Browns to temporarily hold on to that 2 seed. Now we have to close out the AFC South here. The Jags, Colts, and Texans all are in a three-way tie for first place. And let's see how this turns out. Right here, I have the Jags closing out the Colts season. And right now, the Jags are in fourth place. But let's see if the Texans beat the Titans. Now, if the Texans do beat the Titans, there's a chance that they could get into the fourth seed. I do have the Texans winning, but the Texans just didn't have enough on the tiebreaker. Very sadly, put out of the playoffs. The Jaguars have the fourth seed. Kansas City beats the Raiders and makes themselves the 1 seed in the AFC. The already eliminated Chargers lose to the Denver Broncos, who move into the 5th seed. And the Cowboys finish out their mediocre season, going 6-11, beating the Commanders. The Bears finished with 12 wins, beating the already eliminated Vikings. It seems like it's getting time to close out the NFC South here. The only way for the Panthers to get in the playoffs here is it seems they have to win this, and the Saints would have to lose their matchup. But it's still not guaranteed for the Panthers here. I do have the Panthers winning. They get to 9-8, which is 1 win more than they had last season. And a big shocker, the Cardinals will beat the 49ers here to finish out with 3 wins. And in 2 teams who are probably going to be resting their players here, the Rams pull off their 15th win of the season, firmly cementing themselves as the first place. Now, the Lions and the Packers. This is a big-time game because if the Packers win, you can see that the Panthers actually get into the 7th seed. If the Lions win, the Packers get the 6th seed, and the Lions get the 7th seed. But if they tie, the same thing happens. And this is a matchup that I could see them tying in, just so that they both can get in the playoffs. Not easily. I think a good prediction for this game is think about maybe 6 years ago, something like that, where the Chargers met the Raiders. Derek Carr calls the timeout, and they kick the field goal and push the Chargers out of the playoffs. I think this same thing happens. Jordan Love calls a timeout, and the Packers kicker comes onto the field and misses. And the Lions and the Packers both make the playoffs. Here, the Patriots will beat the Miami Dolphins, pushing themselves into the second seed. Now, let's see if a Saints loss might put the Panthers in the playoffs. No, not even a loss. So the Saints will lose their last game, knowing that they don't have to start anybody, and they will hold on to the fourth place in their division. And that is the end of the NFL regular season. Playoff predictions right after this. As you can see, the standings are very, very odd. Like, what do you mean the 49ers are only 9-8? What do you mean the Buccaneers are 5-12? The Lions are only 9-7? And what in the world do you mean the Saints won their division? These are some of my bold predictions. I have the Saints winning the NFC South, and I do have the Buccaneers really struggling this year. I don't think any of these records are really insane, maybe other than the Bucks. I think my firmest take this year is that the Rams will be dominant all year. Now, let's go through our playoffs. Now, in the playoffs, we have the Chiefs at the 1 seed having a free bye week, and the Ravens meet the Patriots, and the Patriots will end the Ravens series. The Bengals will take care of the Broncos, and the Bills will beat the Jaguars. Now, a matchup everybody loves to see, Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes, and sadly, this will be Patrick Mahomes. Bengals meet the Patriots, and the Bengals win this for a great conference matchup that we saw multiple years ago, where Joe Burrow took the title last time. Lions at Bears. Bears will beat the Lions here. The Packers sadly end the Giants' great season, and the Seahawks will blow out the Saints. Rams handle the Packers, and the Bears handle the Seahawks. Joe Burrow and the Bengals will beat Patrick Mahomes in the conference championship again, and the Rams will beat the Bears here, as the Rams will be this year's Super Bowl champions. Hope everyone enjoyed the video. This might be a long one. I'm sorry. Thank you for sticking around. I've had multiple difficulties filming this video, so anything helps. Like, comment, whatever. Thank you. Have a good one.